we were talking about recent reads, May recent reads, and I don't think I have done a recent reads at all this year. But we're starting with May. Better late than never, right? Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal and this is Books Forever After, where I sit on my floor. We talk about everything and all things books and nothing but the books. May was my birthday month and my first time creating and hosting a readathon called the Ever After Readathon, and we focused on historical romance. So that was fun. I hope I did a good job. Let me know. So I will link, if you did hear about it or want to learn more about it, it was between May 17th through May 31st, so it's just a 2-week readathon. My birthday is May 25th, so we just kind of just focused on there, and Bridgerton was coming out, so it's just perfect opportunity to talk about historical romance. I also had some lovely co-hosts, which I will link their channels down below as well, and I am so grateful to you all. We had B from Mom Needs Read Romance, Tara from Tara Talks Books, we had Maggie from Maggie's Book and Stuff, Hannah from Hannah Blackwell, and Monica from Pardon This Book Addict or Book Addict. That's how I phrase it, I guess. So Book Addict. So thank you all, ladies. I don't think I forgot anyone, but that was a lot of fun. So we just had reading sprints and we just had a bingo board that you can just create your own kind of situation, focusing on all my favorite things on historical romance and things focused on my background and things like that. So, you know, we had settings for Spain and Portugal and such like that. So a lot of fun. So yeah, all the details down below. I'm rambling. I do want, we even had a giveaway. So I had a giveaway boxes that I gave to 3 lucky winners, and I think they've all received them, and that went all well. So they each received 9 books out of my some like thrifted stash, and some of it was newer books that I had. So just always love to just, like, as I said, pay it forward, because books are my love language. So I am thinking of possibly doing like a romantasy, fantasy romance kind of inspired one in October and November, probably like a week or 2 weeks as well, focusing on all fantasy romance or romantasy. So let me know if you're interested in that. It would just be the Ever After Readathon, but romantasy edition. May. I read a total of 8 books, which is really my typical, to be honest. I haven't broken the barrier of 8 books in a while, I think. So that's not too bad considering. So yeah, so I read a total of 8 books. The genres that I read 5 historical romance. Which of course, I was hoping to get 4, so I'm glad I got 5. Well, 4 during the readathon, which I did. So I did 1 before the readathon. I had 1 paranormal romance, 1 contemporary, and 1 historical fiction. And the book that I have historical fiction, some people say it can be historical romance, but I count it reads like historical fiction to me, so that's one of the category I'm gonna put on. And I didn't have any romantasy or just fantasy in general. And then the formats, I had 5 physical books, 2 audiobooks, and 1 ebook. And that's probably why I read a little slower, because I do prefer reading books physically. I just like that experience more, and it's more of a texture thing and an experience. Yes, I think experience. Texture, just immersive. My favorite way a great way to read is immersive reading, where you are physically reading a book and listening to the audiobook at the same time. That's really fun. And then for source, I read 2 of the books I owned. 3 were a physical library checkout. 2 were from the Libby app, and 1 was an Audible. My ratings, I didn't have any 6 stars, unfortunately. It's been kind of, my average rating was a 3.75. I did have 2 5 stars, 4 4 stars, and 2 2 stars. no DNFs or 1 stars and no 3 stars. So not too bad. The first book that I read in May was Dragonfly Amber, and I read this as a audiobook from the Libby app. This was a 2-star for me. And Becky, if you're watching, I am so sorry. Although I think she didn't like book 2 either. I think book 3, Voyager, is her favorite. I don't think this series is for me. I read book 1 and I liked it. It was a 3-star. I was introduced to the show first, and that may be why, and that's probably why I never was actually drawn to read the books, because I didn't know it was a book before I watched the show when it came out. And I really do like the show a lot. I think I've only watched until like season 4 or 5. So I have I'm rewatching the show, so I was trying to rewatch the seasons as I was finishing the books, and I am at season 2, obviously there. I was able to fully read it. I just don't think I like Jamie as a character, but the writing is just, it's a lot. It's long. It's just a lot of rambling, it feels like. But that's just, I think, Diana Gabaldon's style, and I'm just not a fan. Because that is just very boring, I think is the word. And I think also part of it is I'm not exactly a fan of Claire inside of her head. Okay, I'm hoping it doesn't cut me off. I am running into the problem where I'm running out of storage on my phone. It might be time to get a camera. Okay, so I don't know where I left off. So yes, Dragonfly Amber, 2 stars. I don't think I am going to continue. I was starting to read it as part of the read along that was hosted with Jen from the Book Refuge, and I know she loves this series, and I wanted to love it too so much. And I started Voyager, and I couldn't continue anymore. I just couldn't. So I DNF'd, and I don't know if I will pick it up again. And so yeah, I wanted to be like all the other girlies, and it just didn't work for me. Next, I read Beyond Scandal and Desire by Lorraine Heath. That was a 4-star. That is book 1 in the Sins for All Seasons novels. So that is here. This one has like a little bit of a revenge plot. He is the bastard son of this lord. I think he's an earl? No, I think he's a duke. So he wants to get back at the duke, because if he's not going to recognize him, he's sending a letter, just doing this revenge plot to get back at him. He decides to seduce the ward to like compromise her, who's actually like the intended betrothed to the duke's legitimate son. And for some reason we do find out why the duke won't recognize him. And I did like the plot in this at the end. I did like the twist and the like emotional depth that Lorraine Heath had brought to this novel. It was very good. It still wasn't my favorite. I think her name is Ashlyn Hastings. She is a ward. She's been orphaned. I think her parents were friends with the duke and such like that. I think also part of it becomes very obvious that the legitimate brother, he has a gambling problem. So I find that books that have that and that like trope, it's not necessarily my favorite. It's not entertaining to read, especially because it just becomes kind of, I guess, sad, and especially the behavior of him was very kind of pathetic and just like very frustrating, which I guess is good as a way to show character development and this conflict, but it's not my favorite, especially in these kind of and historical romances. But that wasn't the hero. That was the legitimate son that was having that issue, and the hero in here is a self-made man. He's also part of 5 other siblings and such, who were raised by a widow in an orphanage, and who was actually part of something also very cool to know about. Like Lorraine Heath's putting in historical information in here, where they would actually unalive, sadly, these children in that time period, these illegitimate unlegitimate sons and daughters of these lords and ladies and such, and they would just drop them off at these people's houses. And in this particular instance, this lady decided not to do that. It was kind of like a very morally gray kind of situation, but it kind of shined a light in that era and those practices, which was very obviously grotesque and shocking. But overall, I enjoyed it. I think the romance as well, just something was slightly missing in it. I didn't like the chemistry as much, so that was also why it was a 4-star for me. And then next I read Obsession by Kay Lorraine and Meg, and I can't even read my handwriting. But this is book 1 in the Make Games, and that was a 4-star for me. This is a paranormal romance, and it kind of has like a academy magical kind of situation. It was a fun time. I do recommend the audiobook. I read it during my commute. It's truly pure entertainment, and for the voice actors alone. And I had heard about this by April and Maggie, and they had done like a buddy reading of this a while back, I think last year, and it was entertaining. I had got this on Audible, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the plot and everything was a little bit obvious and a little bit rolling your eyes, but for the most part it was fun. And Caleb is, I could see why they're fighting over Caleb. April and Maggie and all them, they're saying that they're their book husbands. So. But yes, I am thoroughly interested in reading book 2. I have all of them, and I'm looking forward to starting book 2 probably the next month or so. Looking forward to continue on that series. Then next I read The Finish Line by Kate Stewart. I had read books 1 and 2, which was Flock and Exodus in April, and it was so good. Exodus, I have to say, is my favorite of those. It was just the most angstiest thing ever. All I gotta say is it is modern day Robin Hood retelling, and where there is a menage a trois in the first book, the second book the plot takes a twist on its head, and it becomes the most complicated and situation almost feels like a mafia slash a small town suspense romance at the same time. It's really good. I read these books came in on a time that I really needed them, when I was just going through a lot of stress and frustration at work, and I just needed something to, you know, feel that emotion, to sponge that emotion. So I needed something angsty, and it was good. It was very good. Sometimes I'm not a fan of contemporary moments as much anymore, but this was contemporary done right, and this just goes to show that it's just certain kinds of contemporary romances that I really love. So probably the angstiest, and the writing was really good. The chemistry in these books was top notch, and yeah, and that's all I gotta say. Next I read The Governess and the Duke, and I had gotten this as a physical checkout book from the library, and this is from a newer author called Lydia Drake, and this was a 4-star for me. This has a governess, so that it kind of followed with the prompt of a governess romance, and I think a new release and all that. This follows Viola Winslow, who's a governess, and she is on her way with her new station, where her new charge, and she encounters this Duke of Huntington, and that's instantly where she just falls in love with him, and she develops a long, like 10-year crush on this man. And he is a neighboring duke, so he is not the Duke of her charge. He's friends with the couple that is the ward for her charge. So 10 Years. So this is a really good, like, if you liked Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Penelope and Colin's book from Bridgerton, you would really, I think, like this. It does have like the writing style of like a Tessa Dare as well. It kind of feels like that a little bit. And 10 years later, and it kind of goes to a little bit of like Parent Trap a little bit with the ward. She's trying to get them two together. She discovers that her governess is in love with that duke, and they come across his castle in the moors or whatever like that. It was a very picturesque, and I really like the atmosphere and the writing of that. Like, I just love a castle in the Scottish moors and things like that. So really good. Ward, she kind of like play acts on getting hurt, and there's a lot of banter. There's like it's kind of like feels like a house party because, you know, they're like forced proximity, and it was sweet. Not very spicy, but it was a very sweet romance. The most, a little bit of some spice, but not that much. Just like your general, just like a typical historical romance. It was a lot of fun. I definitely would continue on. This was only book 2 in this series, and I think she's only written 1 series so far. So this would be a great place to start. I think book 1 is Cinderella and the Duke, so that's probably like a Cinderella retelling. And then book 3 is The Duchess and the Wolf. So yeah, the Renegade Dukes is what it's called. So yeah, it was fun, and I would definitely continue with this author, dude. Maybe I might try the Cinderella and the Duke. And then next I read Untouched by Anna Campbell. That was a 2-star. So this was the Mood Readers book pick that I co-host with April. It was on my channel. I will link that down below. And if you're not familiar with our book club, it's the Mood Readers book club, and we typically read, we started this year as our very first official year. Last year we did a Johanna Lindsey read along for the Mallory Anderson series. So this one we're kind of picking like a romantasy on her channel 1 month, and then historical romance on my channel, which was me kind of persuading her to do that, because I just kind of wanted something to challenge myself to get at least not everything historical romance to read, but I wanted to kind of like do a little off and on kind of situation. It's been a lot of fun. We found some really good romantasies, and so far the historical romances have been a little slacking. But yeah. Case in point, Untouched by Anna Campbell. So April really loved this and enjoyed this. I unfortunately did not. It is a dark historical romance, so that was why I wanted to read it. It was part of the prompt that I do love dark historical romances, specifically in the brand of The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. Like, that has been like, if I could provide an example of the historical romances, dark historical romance that I love, that would be the example. I'm just trying to search for that kind of a book again, that same kind of feeling, although I feel like that book is going to be extra special. It's going to be very hard to kind of get to that level. However, this one it's dark. I think part of it is just because it feels very hopeless, and so it just didn't work for me. I wasn't a huge fan of the writing style, especially in the beginning. It felt very slow and just dragging, and just couldn't get into it. It was just, I don't know, just something about the writing. And though I have heard that this author is like hit or miss, so that may be also why. It's kind of like how Eloisa James is kind of like a hit or miss author for a lot of people. For me, the villains were too mustache twirly. On the on-page essay against the heroine for the plot device, that felt flimsy, and the hero and the heroine were both victims, and I find that I don't like my heroes to be victims or act like a victim and just feel very hopeless, especially when they just feel hopeless and just passive. I also felt like the romance was too insta-love at that point, at certain points, and then it just wasn't believable. I didn't believe in their chemistry, and once the hero's uncle said his final line, that cemented. Just no. With that said, there was a couple things that I did like. I enjoyed like the last quarter of the book, the writing got a little better. I also appreciated that the first love scene was fumbled a little bit. It was very realistic and like a first time situation, especially for a virgin hero. And I appreciated that the hero recognized his mistake and that the heroine's experience wasn't the greatest first time, and he did his best to rectify that. So that was I appreciated the realistic quality to that. But with that said, the parts didn't make up the whole. So it just overall the journey, the experience wasn't enjoyable. But I will probably give this author another try. Like I said, it's probably just a hit or miss thing as well. I don't know when that'll be. I think I need to pick the right book to do that as well, because this was just, I want dark historical romance, but I don't want to be a depressy, stressy kind of historical romance where it's not fun, which is probably why I don't like a lot of literary fiction. I like the happy ending. I want the hope at the end. I want my AGA, but I don't want it to be like, why are these two even together kind of AGA. Like, it didn't make sense. So yeah, so that's that one. But then following that, I had a 5-star, and that was A Matter of Temptation by Stacey Reid. This was also a physical checkout from the library, which at this point I had to return it to the library. I really enjoyed it. This was entertaining. This was a very interesting trope that I didn't know I liked in historical romance. You see this a lot in contemporary romance. This is a like boss employee romance, like secretary kind of situation, and during this time a lot of men were secretaries, not women. So this played to a really interesting dynamic, and I really liked it. I really liked Simon. When Simon says, "Yes, sir," that's all I gotta say. Yes, sir. I liked his bossiness. It was just very great, and definitely liked it. 5-star. My first time reading Stacey Reid. I am just looking forward to reading another by her. So that was really good, and I don't know why it has taken me so long to read her. Probably because I'm such a slow reader. Such a slow reader. And then I read a novella, which was actually at the end of the book, the physical book that I had, and I also, I think, checked the ebook from the library because I wanted to read it faster as well. And that is The Duke Shotgun Wedding by Stacey Reid. That was a 4-star. It was only 112 pages. It was good. It has, again, the gambling trope that I don't like. Her brother gambles something. They're desperate because they're falling on hard times, and he thought that he could just gamble and drastically momentous change their lives. So it was fun. She kind of they're twins, so she dresses up like him too, and goes to, you know, attend the duel because her brother, they kind of cover up his fact that he was like cheating at cards or whatever in this gambling thing, and whatever. It's kind of funny, but it's like she dresses up with him, so it's like hidden identity, which I just love that trope, and it was really good. So he like he realizes that, you know, I can't remember exactly how it ends, but it was really good. So for a novella, this actually, and one of the things I hate about novellas, or I don't like as much as novellas, is I usually end up wanting more. There's not as much setting or development because it's so short, so it ends up not being as fun because it doesn't feel like a finished story. This one actually felt, for being a novella, not too bad to being developed. It was very good. I think the action that I kind of applied, it's more on the sensual side as well. So it was just a really good novella. And like I said, I needed to read some more Stacey Reid. So that is it. I had a lot of fun with this month. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the summer now that I'm getting a little bit of a less chaos in my work life. Thanks to everyone who joined, and I hope you guys enjoyed the Ever After Readathon as well. I certainly did. And I am looking forward to I think I'll do it again next year. It might just, I don't know if it'll be a full month or if it'll just be 2 weeks again. I am definitely open to suggestions. Let me know down below. Let me know what was your favorite book that you read in the month of May. I would love to hear about it. Alright, so thank you again. As always, all my links are down in the description box, including my Goodreads, my Instagram, and my Amazon wishlist. And I will link all of the links of the videos that I mentioned in the description below as well. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. I'm a one more plan, but with too many plans. But jack of all trades, but master I'm none. I am doing so well. I'm making the best decisions. I am so chaotic. So chaotic. I guess I could start writing things down more, but that just takes away from the reading time.